You smell Clip Studio Paint correctly, Swift. You smell it. Your nose has not lied to you. What's up, Nova? How's it going? Gosh, the zoom is like too much on Clip Studio sometimes. It'd be like that. Today I was fixing some parts of a fanfiction story that I'm plotting in a series of 7 installments. Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. Yes. Honestly, I hear this song all the time in, like, especially in My Little Pony Grimdark readings. And I ain't gonna lie, I am very, very, very tempted to do a cover of this. Not piano, but I mean like singing. A singing cover. Because there are lyrics to this song. It's called Sweet Dreams Are Made of Screams. And I'm very tempted to do that for Halloween. But I don't know yet. Just testing some stuff out real quick. So, give me a suggestion, people. The goat from Cult of the Lamb? Oh, hold up. Let me see. What does he look like? Right here. I'll pull it up here instead. Oh, he's the second player little guy. Okay. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. This song is actually very much not appropriate. Okay. Okay, yeah. I see him. Okay. Yeah, sure. I can give him a draw. I'll do that. So that will be... Oops. No, you're here early, Twilight. So you're all good. You're good there. Let's see. While that's happening, or while I'm gonna draw that, you know what? I'm gonna listen to a cult classic. So I put creepypasta because instead of listening to My Little Pony, I'm gonna actually listen to some actual grimdarks, like some actual, like, I'm talking like the early stuff The Russian sleep experiment. I think I'm gonna start with that one because that one's actually a favorite of mine. Let's see. I'm just gonna pull that up real quick because I really want to. I love it. It was a Russian sleep experiment. That's what inspired an Apple sleep experiment, the My Little Pony version. And we'll listen to it being read by the OG dude.
Glass portal size.
Whoops. Okay.
Russian researchers in the late 1940s kept 5 people awake for 15 days, using an experimental gas-based stimulant.
You've never listened to him, Swift? Oh man, they are a trip.
Their oxygen intake so the gas didn't kill them, since it was toxic in high concentrations. This was before closed-circuit cameras, so they only had microphones and 5-inch thick glass portal-sized windows into the chamber to monitor them. The chamber was stocked with books, cots to sleep on, but no bedding, running water, and toilet, and enough dried food to last all 5 for over a month. The test subjects were political prisoners deemed enemies of the state during World War II. Everything was fine for the first 5 days. The subjects hardly complained, having been promised falsely that they would be freed if they submitted to the test and did not sleep for 15 days. Their conversations and activities were monitored, and it was noted that they continued to talk about increasingly traumatic incidents in their past, and the general tone of their conversations took on a darker aspect after the 4-day mark. After 5 days, they started to complain about the circumstances and events that led them to where they are, and started to demonstrate severe paranoia. They stopped talking to each other and began alternately whispering to the microphones and the one-way mirrored portholes. Oddly, they all seemed to think that they could win the trust of the experimenters by turning over their comrades, the other subjects in captivity with them. At first, the researchers suspected this was an effect of the gas itself. After 9 days, the first of them started screaming. He ran the length of the chamber, repeatedly yelling at the top of his lungs for 3 hours straight. He continued attempting to scream, but was only able to produce occasional squeaks. The researchers postulated that he had physically torn his vocal cords. The most surprising thing about this behavior is how the other captives reacted to it. Or rather, didn't react to it. They continued whispering to the microphones until the second of the captives started to scream. The 2 non-screaming captives took the books apart, smearing page after page with their own feces and pasting them calmly over the glass portholes. The screaming promptly stopped. So did the whispering to the microphones. After 3 more days passed, the researchers checked the microphones hourly to make sure they were working, since they thought it impossible that no sound could be coming with 5 people inside. The oxygen consumed in the chamber indicated that all 5 must still be alive. In fact, it was the amount of oxygen 5 people would consume at a very heavy level of strenuous exercise. On the morning of the 14th day, the researchers did something they said they would not do to get a reaction from the captives. They used the intercom inside the chamber, hoping to provoke any response from the captives they were afraid were either dead or vegetables. They announced, "We are opening the chamber to test the microphones. Step away from the door and lie flat on the floor, or you will be shot. Compliance will earn one of you your immediate freedom." To their surprise,
You
they
should,
heard
Twilight.
a single phrase in a calm voice response. "We no longer wish to be freed." Debate broke out amongst the researchers and the military forces funding the research. Unable to provoke any more response using the intercom, it was finally decided to open the chamber at midnight on the 15th day. The chamber was flushed of the stimulant gas and filled with fresh air, and immediately voices from the microphones began to object. 3 different voices began begging, as if pleading, for the life of loved ones to turn the gas back on. The chamber was opened and soldiers sent in to retrieve the test subjects. They began to scream louder than ever, and so did the soldiers when they saw what was inside. 4 of the 5 subjects were still alive, though no one could rightly call the state that any of them were in life. The food rations past day 5 had not been so much as touched. They were chunks of meat from the dead test subject's thighs and chest, stuffed into the drain in the center of the chamber, blocking the drain and allowing 4 inches of water to accumulate on the floor. Precisely how much of the water on the floor was actually blood was never determined. All 4 surviving test subjects also had large portions of muscle and skin torn away from their bodies. The destruction of flesh and exposed bone on their fingertips indicated that the wounds were inflicted by hand, not with teeth, as the researchers initially thought. Closer examination of the position and angle of the wounds indicated that most of it, if not all of them, were self-inflicted. The abdominal organs below the ribcage of all 4 test subjects had been removed, while the heart, lungs, and diaphragm remained in place. The skin and most of the muscle attached to the ribs had been ripped off, exposing the lungs through the ribcage. All the blood vessels and organs remained intact. They had just been taken out and laid on the floor, fanning out around the eviscerated but still living bodies of the subjects. The digestive tract of all 4 could be seen to be working, digesting food. It quickly became apparent that what they were digesting was their own flesh that had been ripped off and eaten over the course of days. Most of the soldiers were Russian special operatives at the facility, but still, many refused to return to the chamber to remove the test subjects. They continued to scream to be left in the chamber, and alternately begged and demanded that the gas be turned back on, lest they fell asleep. To everyone's surprise, the test subjects put up a fierce fight in the process of being removed from the chamber. One of the Russian soldiers died from having their throat ripped out. Another was gravely injured by having his testicles ripped off and an artery in his leg severed by one of the subject's teeth. Another 5 of the soldiers lost their lives, if you count ones that committed suicide in the weeks following the incident. In the struggle, one of the 4 living subjects had his spleen ruptured, and he bled out almost immediately. The medical researchers attempted to sedate him, but this proved impossible. He was injected with more than 10 times the human dose of a morphine derivative and still fought like a cornered animal, breaking the ribs and arm of one doctor. His heart was seen to beat for a full 2 minutes after he had bled out, to the point that there was more air in his vascular system than blood. Even after it stopped, he continued to scream and flail for another 3 minutes, struggling to attack anyone in reach, and just repeating the word more, over and over, weaker and weaker, until he finally fell silent. The surviving 3 test subjects were heavily restrained and moved to a medical facility. The 2 with intact vocal cords continuously begging for the gas, demanding to be kept awake. The most injured of the 3 was taken to the only surgical operating room that the facility had. In the process of preparing the subject to have his organs placed back into his body, it was found that he was effectively immune to the sedative they had given him to prepare him for the surgery. He fought furiously against his restraints when the anesthetic gas was brought out to put him under. He managed to tear most of the way through a 4-inch wide leather strap on one wrist, even through the weight of a 200-pound soldier holding that wrist as well. It took only a little more anesthetic than normal to put him under, and the instant his eyelids fluttered and closed, his heart stopped. In the autopsy of the test subject that died on the operating table, it was found that his blood had triple the normal level of oxygen. His muscles that were still attached to his skeleton were badly torn, and he had broken 9 bones in his struggle to not be subdued. Most of them were from the force of his own muscles. The second survivor had been the first of the group of 5 to start screaming. His vocal cords destroyed, he was unable to beg or object to surgery, and he only reacted by shaking his head violently in disapproval when the anesthetic gas was brought near him. He shook his head yes when someone reluctantly suggested that they try the surgery without anesthetic, and did not react for the entire 6-hour procedure of replacing his abdominal organs and attempting to cover them with what remained of his skin. The surgeon presiding stated repeatedly that it should not be medically possible for the patient to still be alive. One terrified nurse assisting the surgery stated that she had seen the patient's mouth curl into a smile several times whenever his eyes met hers. When the surgery ended, the subject looked at the surgeon and began to wheeze loudly, attempting to talk while struggling. Assuming this must be something of drastic importance, the surgeon had a pen and pad fetched so the patient could write his message. It was simple. Keep cutting. The other two test subjects were given the same surgery, both without anesthetic as well, although they had to be injected with a paralytic for the duration of the operation. The surgeon found it impossible to perform the operation while the patients laughed continuously. Once paralyzed, the subject could only follow the attending researcher with their eyes. The
Welcome
paralytic
back.
cleared their system in an abnormally short period of time, and they were soon trying to escape their bonds. The moment they could speak, they were again asking for the stimulant gas. The researchers tried asking why they had injured themselves, why they had ripped out their own guts, and why they wanted to be given the gas again. Only one response was given. I must remain awake. All three subjects' restraints were reinforced, and they were placed back in the chamber, awaiting determination as to what should be done with them. The researchers, facing the wrath of their military benefactors for having failed the stated goals of their project, considered euthanizing the subjects. The commanding officer and ex-KGB instead saw potential and wanted to see what would happen if they were put back on the gas. The researchers strongly objected, but were overruled. In preparation for being sealed in the chamber again, the subjects were connected to an EEG monitor and had their restraints padded for long-term confinement. To everyone's surprise, all three stopped struggling the moment it was let slip that they were going back on the gas. It was obvious that at this point all three were putting up a great struggle to stay awake. One of the subjects that could speak was humming loudly and continuously. The mute subject was straining his legs against the leather bonds with all of his might, first left, then right, then left again for something to focus on. The remaining subject was holding his head off his pillow and blinking rapidly. Having been the first to be wired for EEG, most of the researchers were monitoring his brainwaves in surprise. They were normal most of the time, but sometimes flatlined inexplicably. It looked as if he were repeatedly suffering brain death before returning to normal. As they focused on paper scrolling out of the brainwave monitor, only one nurse saw his eyes slip shut. At the same moment his head hit the pillow, his brainwaves immediately changed to that of deep sleep, then flatlined for the last time as his heart simultaneously stopped. The only remaining subject that could speak started screaming to be sealed in now. His brainwaves showed the same flat lines as the one who had just died from falling asleep. The commander gave the order to seal the chamber with both subjects inside, as well as 3 researchers. One of the named 3 immediately drew his gun and shot the commander point blank between the eyes, then turned the gun on the mute subject and blew his brains out as well. He pointed his gun at the remaining subjects still restrained to a bed as the remaining members of the medical and research team fled the room. I won't be locked in here with these things! Not with you! He screamed at the man strapped to the table. What are you? He demanded. I must know! The subject smiled. Have you forgotten so easily? The subject asked. We're you. We're the madness that lurks within you, begging to be free at every moment in your deepest animal mind. We are what you hide from in your beds every night. We are what you sedate into silence and paralysis when you go to the nocturnal haven where we cannot tread. The researcher paused, then aimed at the subject's heart and fired. The EEG flatlined as the subject weakly choked out. So nearly free.
Well, ain't that just a son of a bitch?
Hey there kids, it's me, Mr. Creepypasta, and I just wanted to tell you thank you for watching tonight's video. Because
That's pretty insane if you ask me. Let's see. Let's see here. What's another good one? You know what? Let's listen to Jeff the Killer. That's another classic that hasn't been heard in a while.
Excerpt from local newspaper. Ominous unknown killer still at large. After weeks of killings, the ominous unknown killer is still on the rise.
I'm also trying to
After little
find a good
evidence had been
pencil.
found, a young boy states that he survived one of the killer's attacks and bravely tells his story. I had a bad dream and woke up in the middle of the night, says the boy. I saw that for some reason, the window was open, even though I remember it being closed before I went to bed. I got up and shut it once more. Afterwards, I simply crawled under my covers and tried to go back to sleep. That's when I had a strange feeling, like someone was watching me. I looked up and nearly jumped out of my bed. There, in the little ray of light illuminating from my curtains, were a pair of two eyes. These weren't regular eyes, they were dark, ominous eyes. They were bordered in black, and just plain out terrified me. That's when I saw his mouth, a long, horrendous smile that made every hair on my body stand up. The figure stood there, watching me.
I'm trying to find a good pencil.
After what seemed like forever.
Cole's pencils do not work right on Clip Studio.
A simple phrase, but said it
I
in
feel
a
like.
way only a madman could speak. Go to sleep. I let out a scream. That's what sent him at me. He pulled out a knife, aimed at my heart.
Either that or it's
jumped
just
on
been
my
a
bed.
while.
I fought him back. I kicked, I punched, I rolled around, trying to knock him off me. That's when my dad burst in with his 12-gauge shotgun. He aimed it at the man. He almost got him. But before he could pull the trigger, the man leapt out to the side. The man threw the knife in a Bowie knife style into my dad's shoulder. He let go of the gun. The man probably would have finished him off if one of the neighbors hadn't alerted the police. They drove into the parking lot and ran towards the door. The man turned and ran down the hallway. I heard a smash.
Yes.
Glass breaking. As I came out of my room, I saw the window that was pointing towards the back of my house was broken. I looked out to see him vanish into the distance. I can tell you one thing. I'll never forget that face. Those cold, evil eyes. That psychotic smile. They'll never leave my head. Police still are on the lookout for this man. If you see anyone that fits the description in the story, please contact your local police department. Jeff and his family had moved into the new neighborhood. His dad had gotten
It is indeed Mr.
and they thought it would be
Creepypasta.
best to live in one of those fancy neighborhoods. Jeff and his brother Lou couldn't complain, though. A new, better house. What was not to love? As they were getting unpacked, one of their neighbors came by. "Hello," she said. "I'm Barbara. I live across the street from you. Well, I just wanted to introduce myself and to introduce my son." She turned around and called her son over. "Billy, these are our new neighbors." Billy said hi and ran back to play in his yard. "Well," said Jeff's mom, "I'm Margaret. This is my husband Peter, and our two sons Jeff and Lou." They each introduced themselves, and Barbara invited them to her son's birthday. Jeff and his brother were about to object when their mother said that they would love to. Jeff went up to his mom. "Mom, why did you invite us to some kid's party? They haven't noticed. I'm not some dumb kid." "Jeff," says his mom, "we just moved here. We should show that we want to spend time with our neighbors." Now we're going to that party, and that's final. Jeff started to talk, but stopped himself, knowing that he can't do anything. Whenever his mom says something, it's final. He walks up to his room and plops down on his bed. Sits there looking at the ceiling when suddenly he gets a weird feeling. Not so much a pain, but a weird feeling. He dismisses it as if some random feeling. He hears his mom calling him down to get his stuff, and he walks down to get it. The next day, Jeff walked down the stairs to get breakfast and get ready for school. As he sat there, eating his breakfast, he once again got that feeling. This time it was stronger. Gave him a slight...
How do you draw crossed arms?
He
That's
once
a
again
struggle
dismissed
for
it.
me.
As he and Lou finished breakfast, they walked down to the bus stop. They sat there waiting for the bus, and then, all of a sudden, some kid on a skateboard jumps over them, only inches above their laps. They both jump back in surprise. "Hey, what the hell, kid?" The kid landed and turned back to them. He kicked his skateboard up and caught it with his hand. He wears an Aeropostale shirt and ripped blue jeans. Well, well, well. Looks like we got some new meat. Suddenly 2 other kids appeared. One is super skinny and the other is huge.
This is
"You're
the
new
goat.
here? I'd like to introduce ourselves.
I'm trying to
Over
draw his
there's
arms
Keith."
crossed, but
Jeff and
it's
Lou
not
look at the
easy.
skinny kid. He has a dopey face that you would expect a sidekick to have. And he's Troy. They look over at the fat kid. Talk about a tub of lard. This kid looks like he hadn't exercised since he was crawling. "And I," says the kid, "am Randy. Now, for all the kids in this neighborhood, there's a small price of bus fare. If you catch my drift." Lou stands up, ready to punch the light out of the kid's eyes, when his 2 friends pull a knife up at him. "I had hoped you'd be more cooperative, but it seems we must do things the hard way." The kid walks up to Lou and takes his wallet out of his pocket. Jeff gets that feeling again. Now it's truly strong, a burning sensation. Stands up, but Lou gestures him to sit down. Jeff ignores it and walks up to the kid. "Listen here, you little punk. Give back my bro's wallet or else." Randy puts the wallet in his pocket and pulls a knife. "Oh? And what you gonna do?" Just as he finishes his sentence, Jeff pops the kid in the nose. Kid reaches for his face. Jeff grabs the kid's wrist and breaks it. Randy screams and Jeff grabs the knife from his hand. Troy and Keith rush him, but Jeff's too quick. He throws Randy to the ground. Keith lashes out at him, but Jeff ducks and stabs him in the arm. Keith drops his knife and falls to the ground screaming. Troy rushes him too, but Jeff doesn't even need the knife. He punches Troy straight in the stomach. He goes down. As he falls, he pukes all over the place.
I won't.
Lou
Yeah.
can do nothing but look in amazement at Jeff. "Jeff, how did you..." That's all he says. They see the bus coming, and know they'd be blamed for the whole thing, so they start running as fast as they can. As they run, they look back and see the bus driver rushing over to Randy and them. As Jeff and Lou make it to school, they don't dare tell what happens. All they do is sit and listen. Lou just thought of that as his brother beating up a few kids, but Jeff knew it was more. It was something scary. As he got that feeling, he felt how powerful it was, the urge to just hurt someone. He didn't like how it sounded, but he couldn't help but feel happy. He felt that strange feeling go away and stay away for the entire day of school, even as he walked home due to the whole thing near the bus stop. And how now he probably wouldn't be taking the bus anymore. He felt happy. When he got home, his parents asked him how his day was. He says, in a somewhat ominous voice, "It was a wonderful day." Next morning, he heard a knock at the front door. He walks down to find 2 police officers at the door, his mother looking back at him with an angry look. "Jeff, these officers tell me that you attacked 3 kids, that it wasn't a regular fight, and that they were stabbed?" "Stabbed, son." Jeff's gaze fell to the floor, showing his mother that it was true. "Mom,
I know, I saw
they're the
that.
ones who pulled the knives on me and Lou." "Son," says one of the cops, "we found 3 kids, 2 stabbed, 1 having a bruise on his stomach, and we have witnesses proving that you fled the scene. Now what does that tell us?" Jeff knew it was no use. He could say him and Lou had been attacked, but there was no proof it was not them who attacked first. They couldn't say that they weren't fleeing because, truth be told, they were.
What's up, Ryder?
So, Jeff couldn't defend himself or Lou. Son, call down your brother. Jeff couldn't do it, since it was him who beat up all three of the kids. Sir, it was me. I was the one who beat up those kids. Lou tried to hold me back, but he couldn't stop me. The cop looked at his partner. They both nodded.
Gosh dang it.
Well, kid looks like a year in juvie. Wait, says Lou. We all looked up to see him holding a knife. The officers pulled their guns and locked them on Lou. It was me. I beat up those little punks. Have the marks to prove it. He lifted up his sleeve to reveal cuts and bruises, as if he were in a struggle. Son, just put down the knife, said the officer. Lou held up the knife and dropped it on the ground, put his hands up and walked over to the cops. No, Lou, it was me. I did it. Jeff had tears running down his face. Huh, poor bro trying to take the blame for what I did. Well, take me away. The police led Lou out to the patrol car. Lou, tell them it was me. Tell them I was the one who beat up those kids.
Poor Jeff.
Put her hand on Jeff's shoulder. Jeff, please.
He's not evil. He's hurt.
Lou, you can stop. Jeff watched helplessly as the cop's car sped off with Lou inside. A few minutes later, Jeff's dad pulls into the driveway, seeing Jeff's face and knowing something's wrong. Son, what is it? Jeff can't answer. His vocal cords are strained from crying. Instead, Jeff's mother walks his father inside to break the bad news to him. As Jeff weeps in the driveway, after an hour or so, Jeff walks back into the house, seeing his parents were both shocked, sad, and disappointed. He can't look at them. He can't see how they think of Lou when it was his fault. He just goes to sleep, trying to get the whole thing off his mind. 2 days go by, with no word from Lou at JDC. No friends to hang out with. Nothing but sadness and guilt. That is until Saturday, when Jeff is woke up by his mother, with a happy, sunny face. Jeff, it's the day, she says as she opens the curtains and lets light flood into Jeff's room. What's today? Says Jeff as he stirs awake. Why, it's Billy's party. Jeff is now fully awake. Mom, you're joking, right? You don't expect me to go to some kid's party after... There was a long pause. Jeff, we both know what happened. I think this party could be the thing that brightens up the past few days. Now, get dressed. Jeff's mother walks out of the room and down to get herself ready. Jeff fights himself to get up. He picks up a random shirt, pair of jeans, walks down the stairs. He sees his mother and father all dressed up. His mother in a dress, his father in a suit. He thinks why they would ever wear such fancy clothes to go to a kid's party. Son, is that all you're gonna wear? Says Jeff's mother. Better than wearing too much, he says. His mother pushes down the feelings to yell at him and hides it with a smile. Jeff, we may be overdressed, but this is how you go if you want to make an impression, says his father. Jeff grunts and goes back up to his room. I don't have any fancy clothes, he yells down the stairs. Just pick something, says his mother. He looks around his closet for what he would call fancy, and he finds a pair of black dress pants he had for special occasions and an undershirt. He can't find a shirt to go with it, though. He looks around and finds only striped and patterned shirts, none of which go with dress pants.
I agree.
Finally, he finds a white hoodie. It's lying on a chair, and puts it on. He walks downstairs to find his parents are all ready. You're wearing that? They both say. His mother looks at her watch. Oh, no time to change. Let's just go, she says as she herds Jeff and his father out the door. They cross the street over to Barbara and Billy's house. They knock on the door, and it appears Barbara, just like my parents, way overdressed. As they walk inside, all we see is adults. No kids. The kids are out in the yard. Jeff, how about you go out and meet some of the kids, says Barbara. Jeff walks outside to the yard full of kids, and they're running around in weird cowboy costumes and shooting each other with plastic guns. He might as well be standing in a Toys R Us. Suddenly, a kid comes up to him and hands him a toy gun and a hat. Hey, mister, you wanna play? He says. No, kid. I'm way too old for this stuff. Kid looks at him with that weird puppy dog face. Please, says the kid. Fine, says Jeff. He puts on the hat and starts to pretend shoot at the kids. At first he thinks it's totally ridiculous, and then he starts to actually have fun. But it's the first time he's done something that takes his mind off of Lou, so he plays with the kids for a while, until he hears a noise. It's a weird, rolling noise. Then it hits him. Just as it does, Randy, Troy, and Keith all jump over the fence on their skateboards. Jeff drops the fake gun and rips off the hat. Randy looks at Jeff with burning hatred. Hello? Jeff, is it? We have some unfinished business. Jeff sees the bruised nose on his face.
What's up, Nick?
I think we're even. I beat the shit out of you and you got my brother sent to JDC. Oh no, I don't go for even. I go for winning. You may have kicked our asses that one day, but not today. As he said that, Randy rushes Jeff. They both fall to the ground. Randy punches Jeff in the nose, and Jeff grabs him by the ears and headbutts him. Jeff pushes Randy off of him, and both rise to their feet. Kids were screaming, parents were running out of the house. Troy and Keith both pull guns out of their pockets. No one interrupts or guts will fly, they say. Randy pulls a knife on Jeff and stabs him in the shoulder. Jeff screams and falls on his knees. Randy starts kicking him in the face. After 3 kicks, though, Jeff grabs his foot and twists it, causing Randy to fall to the ground. Jeff stands up, walks towards the back door. Troy grabs him, though. Need some help? He picks Jeff up by the back of his collar and throws him through the patio door. As Jeff tries to stand, he is kicked down to the ground. Randy repeatedly starts kicking Jeff until he starts to cough up blood. Come on, Jeff, fight me! He picks Jeff up and throws him into the kitchen. Randy sees a bottle of vodka on the counter and smashes the glass over Jeff's head. Fight! He throws Jeff back into the living room. Come on, Jeff! Look at me! Jeff glances up, his face riddled with blood. I was the one who got your brother sent to JDC, and now you're just gonna sit there and let him rot in there for a whole year? You should be ashamed. Jeff stands up. Oh, finally you stand and fight. Jeff is now on his feet, blood and vodka on his face. Once again, he gets that strange feeling. The one in which he has...
There you go. It's the goat.
Finally, he's up, says Randy as he runs at Jeff. And that's when it happens. Something inside Jeff snaps. His psyche is destroyed. All rational thinking is gone. All he can do is kill. He grabs Randy and pile drives him into the ground. He gets on top of him and punches him straight in the heart. The punch causes Randy's heart to stop. Randy's gasping for breath. Jeff hammers down on him, punch after punch. Blood gushes from Randy's body.
All right, give me another one.
He takes one final breath and dies. Everyone's looking at Jeff now. Parents, the crying kids, even Troy and Keith. Although they easily break from their gaze and point their guns at Jeff. Jeff sees the guns trained on him and runs for the stairs. As he runs, Troy and Keith let out fire on him, each shot missing. Jeff runs up the stairs. He hears Troy and Keith follow up from behind. As they let out their final round of bullets, Jeff ducks into the bathroom.
Anybody got another suggestion?
And rips it off the wall. Troy and Keith race up, knives ready. Troy swings his knife at Jeff, who backs away, and bangs the towel rack against Troy's face. Troy goes down hard, and now all that's left is Keith. He's more agile than Troy, though, and ducks when
Slender Man. Oh, okay.
He drops the knife, grabs Jeff by the neck. He pushes him against the wall. A thing of bleach falls down on top of us from the top shelf. It burnt both of them. They both started to scream. Jeff wiped his eyes as best he could. He pulled back the towel rack, swung it straight into Keith's head. As he lay there, bleeding to death, he lets out an ominous smile. What's so funny? Asks Jeff. Keith pulled out a lighter and switches it on. It's funny, he says, is that you're covered in bleach and alcohol. Jeff's eyes widen as Keith throws the lighter at him. As soon as the flame made contact with him, the flames ignite the alcohol in the vodka. While the alcohol burned him, the bleach bleached his skin. Jeff let out a terrible screech as he caught on fire. He tried to roll out the fire, but it was no use. The alcohol made him a walking inferno. He ran down the hall, fell down the stairs. Everyone started screaming as they saw Jeff, now a man on fire, drop to the ground nearly dead. The last thing Jeff saw was his mother and other parents trying to extinguish the flame. And that's when he passed out. When Jeff woke up, he had a cast wrapped around his face.
Here, let me pull up a
Couldn't
pic
see
of
anything.
Slender Man real quick.
He felt the cast on his shoulders, stitches all over his body. He tried to stand up, but he realized that there was some tube in his arm. When he tried to get up, it fell out. The nurse rushed in. I don't think you can get out of bed just yet, she said as she put him back into the bed and reinserted the tube. Jeff sat there with no vision, no idea of what his surroundings were. Finally, after hours, he heard his mother. Honey, are you okay? She asked. Jeff couldn't answer, though. His face was covered. He was unable to speak. Oh, honey, I have great news. After the witnesses told the police that Randy confessed of trying to attack you, they decided to let Lou go. That made Jeff almost bolt up, stopping halfway, remembering the tube coming out of his arm. He'll be out by tomorrow. Then you two will be able to be together again. Jeff's mother hugged Jeff, says her goodbyes. For the next couple of weeks were those where Jeff was visited by his family. Then came the day where his bandages were to be removed. His family were all there to see what he would look like. As the doctors unwrapped the bandages from Jeff's face, everyone was on the edge of their seats. They waited until the last bandage holding the cover over his face was almost removed. Well, let's hope for the best, said the doctor. He quickly pulled the cloth, letting the rest fall from Jeff's face. Jeff's mother screamed at the sight of his face. Lou and Jeff's dad stare, awestruck at his face. What? What happened to my face? Jeff said. He rushed out of bed and ran to the bathroom. He looked in the mirror and saw the cause of distress. His face.
If you could have a build of any anime character, who and why?
His lips were burnt to a
Sora.
deep shade of red.
Sora from Kingdom Hearts. He's
His face was
technically
turned to
anime.
a pure white color. His hair singed from brown to black. He slowly put his hands to his face. It had a sort of leathery feel to it now. He looked back at his family, then back at the mirror. Jeff, said Lou, it's not so bad. Not bad, said Jeff. It's perfect. His family were equally surprised. Jeff started laughing uncontrollably. His parents noticed that his left eye and hand were twitching. Jeff, are you okay? Okay? I've never felt more happy. Look at me. His face goes perfectly with me. He couldn't stop laughing. He stroked his face, feeling it, looking at it in the mirror. What caused this? You may recall that when Jeff was fighting Randy, something in his mind, some sanity snapped.
Yes, Slendy boy.
A crazy killing machine. That is, his parents didn't know. Doctor, said Jeff's mom, is my son all right, in the head? Oh yes, this is typical behavior for a patient that's had a very large amount of painkillers. If his behavior doesn't change in a few weeks, bring him back here. We'll give him some psychological testing. Oh, thank you, doctor. Jeff's mother went over to Jeff. Jeff, sweetie, it's time to go. Jeff looks away from the mirror. His face still formed into a crazy smile. Okay, Mom. Jeff's mom took him by the shoulder and took him to get his clothes. This is what he came in, says the lady at the desk. Jeff's mom looked down to see the black dress pants and white hoodie her son wore. Now they were clean of blood and now stitched together. Jeff's mother led him to his room and made him put his clothes on. And then they left, not knowing that this was their final day of life. That night, Jeff's mother woke to a sound coming from their bathroom. It sounded as if someone was crying. She slowly walked over to see what it was. When she looked into the bathroom, she saw a horrendous sight. Jeff had taken a knife and carved a smile into his cheeks. "Jeff, what are you doing?" asked his mother. Jeff looked over to his mother. I couldn't help but... I couldn't help... I couldn't keep smiling, Mommy. It hurt after a while. Now I can smile forever. Jeff's mother noticed his eyes, ringed in black. "Jeff, your eyes!" His eyes were bordered by black, seemingly never closing. I couldn't see my face. I got tired and my eyes started to close. I burned out the eyelids so I could forever see myself, my new face. Jeff's mother slowly started to back away, seeing that her
He's
son
just a
was
silly
insane.
boy.
"What's wrong, Mommy?
He's just having a bad day, that's
Aren't I
all.
beautiful?" Yes, son," she said. Yes, you
Okay.
are. "Let me go get Daddy so he can see your face." She ran into the room and shook Jeff's dad awake from his sleep. Honey, get the gun. She stopped as she saw Jeff.
Get the gun! We have to shoot our son!
"Mommy, you lied." That's the last thing they heard as Jeff rushed them with the knife, gutting both of them.
Well, granted, she was
Startled by some noise.
She was
He didn't hear
justified, though.
anything else, so he just shut his eyes and tried to go back to sleep. As he was on the border of slumber, he got the strangest feeling that someone was watching him. He looked up before Jeff's hand covered his mouth. He slowly raised the knife, ready to plunge it into Lou. Lou thrashed here and there, trying to escape Jeff's grip. "Shh, I said. Just go to sleep."
Oh, is that it? That's a little underwhelming. I thought there would be more. Okay. Let's see. What's the next one we should listen to? Uh-huh. Oh, Ben Drowned! That's another good one. What's up, No Name?
Okay, I need your help with this. It's going to be a long story, but I feel that my safety or well-being could very well depend on this. This is video game related, specifically Majora's Mask, and this is the creepiest shit that has ever happened to me in my entire life. Having said that, I recently moved into my dorm room starting as a sophomore in college, and a friend of mine gave me his old Nintendo 64 to play. I was stoked, to say the least. I could finally play all those old games of my youth that I hadn't touched in at least a decade. His Nintendo 64 came with one yellow controller and a rather shoddy copy of Super Smash Bros. And while beggars can't be choosers, needless to say, it didn't take long until I became bored of beating up level 9 CPUs. That weekend, I decided to drive around a few neighborhoods about 20 minutes or so off campus, hitting up the local garage sales, hoping to score on some good deals from ignorant parents. I ended up picking up a copy of Pokemon Stadium, GoldenEye, F-Zero, and 2 other controllers for $2. Satisfied, I began to drive out of the neighborhood while one last house caught my attention. Now, I still have no idea why it did. And there was no cars there. Only one table was set up with random junk on it, but something sort of drew me there. I usually trust my gut on these things, so I got out of the car, and I was greeted by an old man. His outward appearance was, for lack of a better word, displeasing. He was odd. If you asked me to tell you why I thought he was displeasing, I couldn't really pinpoint anything. It was just something about him that put me on edge. I can't explain it. All I could tell you is that if it wasn't in the middle of the afternoon and there were other people in shouting distance, I would not have thought about approaching this man. He flashed a crooked smile at me and asked what I was looking for, and immediately I noticed that he must have been blind in one of his eyes. His right eye had that glazed over look about it. I forced myself to look into his left eye instead, trying not to offend, and I asked if he had any old video games. I was already wondering how I could politely excuse myself from the situation when he would tell me that he had no idea what a video game was, but to my surprise, he said he had a few in an old box. He assured me that he would be back in a jiffy and turned to head back into the garage. As I watched him hobble away, I couldn't help but notice what he was selling on his table. Littered across his table were rather peculiar paintings, various artworks that looked like ink blots that psychiatrists might show you. Curious, I looked through them. It was obvious why no one was visiting this guy's garage sale. There weren't exactly aesthetically pleasing items here. As I came to the last one, for some reason, it looked almost like Majora's Mask. Same heart-shaped body with little spikes protruding outward. Initially, I just thought that since I was secretly hoping to find the game at these garage sales, some Freudian bullshit was projecting itself into the ink blots. But given the events that happened afterward, I'm not so sure. I should have asked the man about it. I wish I would have asked the man about it. I stared at the Majora-shaped blot. I looked up and the old man was suddenly there again, arm's length in front of me, smiling at me. I'll admit that I jumped out of reflex, and I laughed nervously as he handed me a Nintendo 64 cartridge. There was a standard gray color, except that someone had written Majora's Mask on it in permanent marker. I got butterflies in my stomach as I realized what a coincidence this was and asked him how much he wanted for it. The old man smiled at me and told me I could have it for free. That it used to belong to a kid who was about my age that didn't live here anymore.
Alrighty, there's Slender Man.
There's something weird about how the man phrased that, but I didn't really pay any attention to it then. I was caught up in not only finding the game, but getting it for free. I reminded myself to be a bit skeptical since it looked like a pretty shoddy cartridge and there was no guarantee that it would work. But then the optimist inside me interjected that maybe it was some kind of beta version or pirated version of the game, and that was all I needed to get back on Cloud 9. I thanked the man, and the man smiled at me and wished
Well,
me well.
thank you. I mean, I know it's not perfect. I'm sure if I really worked at it, I could make it look good, but I'm just kind of doing quick sketches.
Home, I had a nagging doubt that the man had said something else. My fears were confirmed when I booted up the game. To my surprise, it worked just fine, and there was one save file, simply Ben. Goodbye, Ben, he was saying. Goodbye, Ben. I felt bad for the man, obviously a grandparent and obviously going senile, and I, for some reason or another, reminded him of his grandson, Ben.
So, throw me another suggestion.
Out of curiosity, I looked at the save file, eyeballing it. I could
Oh
tell
yeah,
that he
wait.
was pretty far in
Nick
the game.
suggested
Yeah,
something
almost all the
earlier.
matches
Didn't you
he
suggest
forced the
Huggy
remains of the
Wuggy?
bosses. I noticed that he had used an owl statue to save his game. He was on day 3, and by the stone tower temple with hardly an hour left.
Yeah, I'll do Huggy Wuggy.
I
Why not?
remember thinking that it was a shame that he had come so close to beating the game, but he never finished it. I made a new file named Link out of tradition and started the game, ready to relive my childhood. For such a shady-looking game cartridge, I was impressed at how smoothly it ran, literally like a retail copy of the game, save for a few minor hiccups here and there, like textures being where they shouldn't be, random flashes of cutscenes at odd intervals, but nothing too bad. Honestly, however, the only thing that was a little unnerving was that at times the NPCs would call me Link, and at other times they would call me Ben.
Alrighty.
I figured it was just
Time for Huggy Wuggy.
a fluke in the programming causing our files to get mixed up or something. It did kind of creep me out, though, after a while. And it was around after I had beaten the waterfall temple that I regrettably went into the save files and deleted Ben. I had intended to preserve the file just out of respect for the game's original owner, but it's not like I needed 2 files anyway. Hoping that that would solve the problem. It did, and it didn't. Now NPCs wouldn't call me anything. Where my name should be in the dialogue, there was just a blank space. My save file name was still called Link, though. Frustrated, and with homework to do, I put the game down for a day. I started playing the game again last night, getting the lens of truth and working my way through completing the Snowhead Temple. Now, some of you more hardcore Majora's Mask players know about the 4th day glitch. For those who don't, you can Google it, but the gist of it is that right as the clock is about to hit 000000 on the final day, you talk to the astronomer and look through the telescope. If you time it right, the countdown disappears and you essentially have another day to finish whatever you're doing. Deciding to do the glitch to try and finish the Snowhead Temple, I happened to get it right on the first try, and the time counter at the bottom disappeared. However, when I pressed B to escape the telescope, instead of being greeted by the astronomer, I found myself in the Majora's boss fight at the end of the game. The trippy boxed-in arena, staring at Skull Kid hovering above me. There was no sound, just him floating in the air, and the background music, which was regular for the area, but still creepy. Immediately, my palms began to sweat. This was definitely not normal. Skull Kid never appears here. I tried moving around the area. No matter where I went, Skull Kid would always be facing me, looking at me, not saying anything. Nothing would happen, though, and this kept up for around 60 seconds. I thought the game had bugged or something, but I was beginning to doubt that very much. I was about to reach for the reset button when text appeared on my screen. You're not sure why, but you apparently had a reservation. I instantly recognized that text. You get that message when you get the room key from Anju at the Stockpot Inn, but why was it playing here? I refused to entertain the notion that it was almost as if the game was trying to communicate with me. I started to navigate the room again, testing to see if there was some kind of trigger that enabled me to interact with something here. Then I realized how stupid I was. To even think that someone could reprogram the game like this was absurd. Sure enough, 15 seconds later, another message appeared on the screen, and again, like the first one, it was another pre-existing phrase. Go to the lair of the temple boss. Yes, no. I paused for a second, contemplating what I should press and how the game would react. When I realized that I couldn't select no, taking a deep breath, I pressed yes, and the screen faded to white, of the words, Dawn of a New Day, with the subtext, 111111 beneath it. Where I was ported to filled me with the most intense sense of dread and impending fear I had ever experienced. The only way I could describe the way I felt is having this feeling of inexplicable depression on a profound scale. I'm normally not a depressed person, but the way I felt here was a feeling
Okay,
that
no
I
name
didn't
is
even know
leaving. Got it.
existed. It was such a twisted, powerful presence that seemed to wash over me. I appeared in some kind of weird Twilight Zone version of Clocktown. I walked out of the clock tower as you normally do when you first start day one, only to find that all the inhabitants were gone. Usually with the 4th day glitch, you can still find the guards and the dog that runs around outside the tower. This time, they were all gone. What replaced them was the ominous feeling that there was something out there, in the same area as me, and that it was watching me. I had 4 hearts to my name and the hero's bow, but at this point, I wasn't even considered for my avatar. I felt that I personally was in some kind of danger. Perhaps the most chilling thing was the music. It was the Song of Healing, ripped straight from the game itself, but played in reverse. The music got louder, building up, so as if you should expect something to pop out at you, but nothing ever did. The constant loop began to wear on my mental state. Every now and then I would hear the faint laugh of the happy mask salesman in the background, just quiet enough so that I wasn't sure if I was hearing things, but just loud enough to keep me determined to find him.
I
looked in
can't do
all 4 zones
circles.
of Clocktown,
I can
only to
barely
find
draw a
nothing
circle.
open. Textures were missing. West Clocktown had me walking on air. The entire area felt broken. Helplessly broken, as the reverse Song of Healing repeated for what must have been 50 times.
I just remember standing in the middle of South Clocktown, realizing that I had never felt so alone in a video game before. As I walked through the ghost town, I don't know whether it was the combination of the out-of-place texture and the atmosphere and the haunting melody of the once peaceful and soothing song being butchered and distorted, but I was literally on the verge of tears, and I had no idea why. I hardly ever cry. Something had gripped me here, and this powerful sense of depression that it was both foreign and crippling. I tried leaving Clocktown, but every time I attempted to zone out, the screen would fade to black, and I would just zone into another part of Clocktown. I tried playing my ocarina. I tried to escape, and I did not want to be here, but every time I played the Song of Time or Song of Soaring, it would only say, "Your notes echo far, but nothing happens."
Well, that's disturbing.
At this point, it was obvious the game didn't want me to leave, but I had no idea why it was keeping me here. I didn't want to go inside the buildings. I felt that I would be too vulnerable there, whatever I was terrified of. I don't know why, but I came up with the idea that maybe if I drowned myself at the laundry pool, I could spawn somewhere else and leave this place. As I zoned in and ran towards the pool, that's when it happened. Link grabbed his head and the screen flashed for a brief moment of the happy mask salesman smiling at me. Not Link, me, with Skull Kid's scream playing in the background, and when the screen returned, I was staring at the Link statue from playing the song of Elegy of Emptiness. I screamed as the thing just stared back at me with that haunting facial expression. I turned around and ran out and back into South Clocktown, and to my horror, the fucking statue followed me. And the only way that I compare this is the weeping angels from Doctor Who. Every so often, at random intervals, the animation would play of the statue appearing behind me. It was like the thing was chasing me, or I don't even want to fucking say it, haunting me. By this point, I was on the verge of hysterics, but not even once did the thought of turning off the console occur to me. I don't know why. I was so wrapped up in it. The terror felt all so real. I tried to shake the statue, but it would literally appear right behind me every single time. Link started to begin to make weird animations I'd never seen him do before. He would flail his arms around or spasm randomly, and the screen would cut to the happy mask salesman, smiling again for a brief moment before I was face to face with that fucking statue again. I ended up running into the swordsman's dojo.
You thought Ben Drown was real.
I don't know why, but my panic, I just wanted some kind of assurance that I'm not alone here. To my dismay, I found no one. But as I turned to leave, the statue cornered me in the cubby in the back. I tried attacking the statue with my sword, but to no avail. Confused, I backed into a corner. I just stared at the statue, waiting for it to kill me, and suddenly the screen flashed again to the happy mask salesman, and Link turned to face my screen, standing upright, mirroring the statue, looking at me along with his copy, literally staring at me. Whatever was left of the fourth wall was completely shattered while I ran out of the dojo terrified. Suddenly the game whipped me to an underground tunnel, and Reverse Song of Healing queued up again as I was given a brief moment of rest before the statue started appearing behind me again. This time aggressively. I could only take a few steps before it would summon behind me again. I hurried, made my way out of the tunnel, and appeared in the southern Clocktown. As I ran aimlessly in a sheer panic, suddenly a Redead screamed and screamed.
V used to think that Herobrine was real.
111111111 appeared again. The screen faded in, and I was
at least that's what she told me.
Clock tower with Skull Kid hovering over me again, silent. I looked up, and the moon was back, looming just meters above my head, but the Skull Kid just stared at me hauntingly with that fucking mask. A new song was playing. The Stone Tower Temple theme played in reverse. In some sort of desperate attempt, I equipped my bow and fired off a few shots at the Skull Kid. And it actually hit him, and he played an animation of him reeling back. I fired again, and on the third arrow, a text block appeared saying, "That won't do you any good." And I was picked up off the ground, levitated upwards on my back, and then Link screamed as he burst into flames, instantly killing him. I jumped when this happened. I'd never seen this move used by anyone in the game, and Skull Kid himself didn't have any moves. As the death screen played, my lifeless body still burning, the Skull Kid laughed and the screen faded to black, only to have me reappear in the same place. I decided to charge him, but the same thing happened. Link's body was lifted off the ground by some unknown force, and he immediately burst into flames again, killing him. This time, during the death scene, the faint sound of the Reverse Song of Healing could be heard. On my third and final try, I noticed that there was no music playing this time. That all there was eerie silence. I remembered that in the original encounter with the Skull Kid, you were supposed to use the ocarina to either travel back in time or summon the giants, and I attempted to play the Song of Time. Before I could hit the last note, Link's body once again horrifically exploded into flames and he died. As the death screen neared its end, it began to chug, as if the cartridge was trying to process a lot of something. And while the screen came to, it was the same scene as the first 3 times, except this time, Link was lying on the ground dead in a position I'd never seen in the game before. His head tilted toward the camera, and the Skull Kid floating above him. I couldn't move. I couldn't...
Huggy Wuggy! There he is.
All I could do just stare at Link's dead body. After around 30 seconds of this, the game simply fades out with the message, "You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you?"
Actually, let's do this.
Before kicking you out to the title screen.
Ah, no.
Upon getting back to the title screen and starting again, I noticed my save file was no longer there. Instead of Link, it was replaced by Your Turn. Your Turn had 3 hearts, 0 masks, and no items. I selected Your Turn, and immediately when I did, I was returned to the Clock Tower rooftop scene with my Link dead and Skull Kid hovering over, and Skull Kid's laugh looping again and again. I quickly hit the reset button, and when the game booted up again, there was one more save file added, below Your Turn, entitled Ben. Ben's
There we
save
go.
file is
Wait,
right
no.
back where it was before I deleted it. At the Stone Tower Temple, with the moon almost crashing. I turned off the game at that point. I'm not superstitious, but this is way too fucked up, even for me. I haven't played it at all today. Hell, I didn't even get any sleep last night. I kept hearing the reverse Song of Healing music in my head and just remembered the sense of dread I felt exploring Clock Tower.
There's Huggy.
I drove back to the old man's house today to ask him some questions with a buddy of mine. No way I was going there alone. Only to find that there was a for sale sign in the front yard. And when I rang the doorbell, no one was home. So now I'm back here writing down the rest of my thoughts and recording what happened.
Thank you.
Sorry if some of this has grammatical errors and whatnot. I'm not sleeping quite so well. I'm terrified of this game, even more so now that I relived it a second time writing this all down.
Okay.
I feel like there's still more to it that
What's
meets
the
eye.
next
And
one?
there's something calling to me to investigate this further. I think Ben is something in this equation, but I don't know what. And if I could get a hold of the old man, then I would be able to find some answers. I need another day or so to
One more suggestion.
recuperate before tackling the game again.
Or not one more, just give me a suggestion. We'll see where the night takes us.
It's already taken a toll on my sanity. I feel like... But next time I do this, I'm going to be recording my footage all the way through. The idea to record only came to me towards the end, so you see the last few minutes of what I saw, including the Skull Kid and the Elegy statue, but I'll post it on YouTube here. I'm gonna stay in this thread for a while longer, just before I fall asleep, to answer any questions while you guys might have any, or hopefully listen to your ideas or theories to help me shed some light onto this.
Anybody got a
Things I've tried to
suggestion
do.
for me
I'm
to
gonna
draw?
play Ben's file tomorrow to see what happens. Maybe I was supposed to do that all along. I don't believe in paranormal shit, but this is a little fucked up. Maybe this Ben guy is just a really good hacker or programmer. I don't want to think about the alternatives if he isn't. I'm gonna post what happened and a link of the footage here. But last night, everything got too
Bendy,
real for me.
okay.
I think I'm done messing around with this. I passed out pretty much immediately after making that thread. But last night, that Elegy of Emptiness statue, I had a dream about it. I dreamed that it was following me in my dream. That I would be minding my own business when I'd feel my neck hair stand up on end. I would turn around and the horrible, lifeless statue would be staring with those empty eyes right at me, merely inches away. In my dream, I remember calling it Ben, and never before had I had a dream that I could remember so vividly.
Let me find a good.
The important thing is I did get some sleep, I suppose. Today
Putting off playing the game as long as I could, I drove back up that neighborhood to see if the old man came back, and as expected, the car was still gone and no one was home. As I walked back to my car, the man next door, mowing the grass, killed the power to his lawnmower and asked if I was looking for someone. I told him that I was looking to talk to an old man that lived there, to which he told me what I already know: he was moving. Trying a different avenue, I asked if the old man had any family or relatives that I could talk to. I discovered that this old man had never been married, nor did he have any children or grandchildren through adoption. Starting to become worried, I asked one final question, one I should have asked in the beginning: who's Ben? The man's expression turned grim, and I learned that 4 doors down, around 8 years ago, on April 23rd, the man informed me that it was the same day as his anniversary. That's how he knew the specific date. There was an accident with a young boy named Ben in the neighborhood. Shortly after, his parents moved, and despite any further attempts to talk to the man to get more information, he wouldn't divulge any. I went back and started playing again. I loaded up the game, and immediately I jumped at the title screen where the masks flew by. The sound that played was not the normal whoosh sound. It was something much more higher pitched. I pressed start, bracing for the worst, but just like 2 nights ago, the files Your Turn and Ben were displayed. Truth be told, I looked at the Ben file earlier. It seemed to fluctuate between displaying the owl save and not.
Hold up.
I brought up the Ben file, hesitated for a moment, noticing that the stats were not the same as they originally were 2 days ago. It seemed like he had already completed the Stone Tower Temple this time. Summoning my courage, I selected it. Immediately, I was thrust into complete chaos. Sure enough, I was outside of Stone Tower Temple, but that's about all that was expected. The zone itself wasn't called Stone Tower Temple, but rather Stone. And immediately, a dialogue box of complete gibberish that I couldn't make out greeted me. Link's body was distorted. His back was cocked violently to the side where his posture was permanently disfigured. Link's expression was dull, almost monotonous. He had an expression on his face that I didn't recognize before. It was a blank look, as if he was dead. As Link stood there, his body spasmed irregularly back and forth. I examined what had become of my avatar and noticed that I had a C button item I had never seen before, some kind of note. But pressing it did nothing. Sounds played back and forth I didn't recognize from the game, almost demonic in nature, and there was some kind of high-pitched yip or some kind of laugh or something playing in the background. I had all of 2 minutes to take in the environment before another one of those fucking Elegy of Emptiness statues was summoned, and immediately after I was cut into the Dawn of a New Day screen. Except this time it was without the 111 subtext. I was a Deku scrub in Clocktown.
A Deku scrub. Scrubbity scrub.
Salt would say, "What just happened?" It was as if everything has... But instead of saying, "started over," she finished her remark in a broken text as the laugh of the happy mask salesman played in the background. I was put back in control of my character, but from a fucked up camera angle. I was looking from behind the door to the clock tower, watching my avatar run around as a Deku scrub. Seeing as how I really had no place to go because I couldn't see anything, I begrudgingly went inside the door. There, I was greeted by the happy mask salesman, who simply told me, "You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you?" before the screen whited out. I was in Termina Field as a human again. I might as well not have been playing the game anymore. I was being warped around, and there was no sign of a day clock or anything. I took a moment to get my bearings as I looked around the field, and immediately I could tell that this was not normal. There was no enemies, and a twisted version of the Happy Mask Salesman theme was playing. I decided to run towards Woodfall before I noticed a gathering of 3 figures off to the side, one of them being Epona. As I approached them, to my horror, I saw the Happy Mask Salesman, the Skull Kid, and the Elegy of Emptiness statue just standing there. I figured maybe they were bugged out, but now I told myself that I should know better. Nevertheless, I approached them carefully and found that the Skull Kid was playing some kind of idle animation on loop. Same with Epona. The Elegy of Emptiness statue was doing what it had been doing all along, just standing there eerily. It was the Happy Mask Salesman that scared me more profoundly than the other 2.
He was idle, wearing that shit-eating grin. But wherever I moved, his head slowly turned and followed me. I had not engaged in any dialogue, nor was I in combat with him, yet his head still continued to follow my movements. Reminded of my first encounter with the Skull Kid on top of Clock Tower, I pulled out my ocarina, to which the game played the ding sound when you were supposed to play your ocarina, and I tried a song I hadn't played yet. The Happy Mask Salesman's own song, and the song that had been playing on loop back on day 4, the Song of Healing. I finished playing the song, and as I did, an ear-piercing shriek blasted on my TV. The sky immediately started flashing. The Happy Mask Salesman twisted theme song sped up, intensifying the fear inside me, and Link exploded into flames and died. The 3 figures stayed lit up during my death screen as they watched my lifeless body burn. I can't describe to you how sudden and terrifying the transition from eerie to terror it is. You're going to have to watch the video if you want to see it firsthand. That same fear that caused me to lose sleep 2 days ago started to grip me again, as I was met with the text, "You've met with a horrible fate, haven't you?" for the 3rd time. There has to be some sort of meaning behind it. I had little time to ponder as I was immediately given another small cutscene transforming into a Zora, and now I found myself in the Great Temple Bay. Hesitant but curious to see what the game had in store for me, I slowly made my way towards the beach where I found Epona. I wondered why the game had decided to put her here. Was the game implying that she was trying to get a drink? Unable to take the mask off, I decided that riding the steed wasn't the reason why she was placed there. Suddenly I realized that Epona kept neighing, and the way she was angled made it look like she was trying to signal a point to me off in the distance. It was a hunch, but I dove into Great Bay and started swimming. Sure enough, I almost missed it. I found something at the bottom of the ocean. One last Elegy of Emptiness statue. I went down to examine it, and suddenly my Zora started doing a choking animation. I had never seen a Zora do that, which doesn't even make any sense because Zoras can breathe underwater. Regardless, my character choked to death and died. And again, the statue was the only thing that was highlighted during my death. I didn't respawn this time. I was booted back to the main menu as if I restarted the console. The press start screen was before me. I knew the only reason why it would put me here is because the save file had changed again. Taking a deep breath, I pressed start, and I was right. The new save files told me about Ben. Now it made sense why the statue appeared when I tried to go to the laundry pool. The game must have anticipated how I would have tried to escape day 4. The 2 save files told me his fate. As I suspected, Ben was dead. He had drowned. The game obviously isn't through with me. It taught me with the new save files. It wants me to keep playing. It wants me to go further, but I'm done with this shit. I'm not touching any more of the files. This is already way too horrifying for me, and I don't even believe in the paranormal. But I'm running out of explanations. Why would someone send me this message? I don't understand it. I just get too depressed thinking about this. The footage is up here for those who want to see it and try and analyze it. Maybe there's some kind of coded message in the gibberish or something symbolic in what I went through. I'm too emotionally and mentally drained to fuck with it anymore. I know it's early in the morning. I've stayed up all night. I can't sleep. I don't care if people see this. It's not the point. I just want the word to get spread so that I don't suffer for nothing. I've lost the will to type about this. The less I dwell on this, the better. I think the video just speaks for itself. I did what you guys told me to do. I played the Elegy of Emptiness song at the first prompt by the game I was given, but I think that's what the game where Ben... Jesus Christ, I can't believe I'm even humoring that absurd idea. Wanted me to do. He's following me now. Not just in the game, he's in my dreams. I see him all the time. Behind my back. Just following me. I haven't gone to any of my classes. I stayed in my dorm room with the windows closed and the blinds shut. That way I know he can't watch me, but he still gets me when I play. When I play, he can still see me. The game is scaring me now. It's talked to me for the first time, not just using text that's already in the game. It spoke to me. It talked to me. It referenced Ben. It talked to me. I don't know what it means. I don't know what it wants. I never wanted this. I just want my old life back.
Stuff like this doesn't happen to people like me. I'm just a kid, not even old enough to drink yet. It's not fair. I want to go home. I want to see my parents again, and I'm so far away from home here at school. I want to hug my mom again. I just want to forget the statue's horrible blank face, my original game files back, just the way I left it before it was gone. I don't
Poor
wanna play
guy.
anymore. I feel like something bad will happen if I don't, but that's impossible. It's a video game. Haunted or not, it can't hurt me, right? Like, seriously, though, it can't, right? That's what I keep telling myself, but every time I think about it, I'm not so sure.
Let me just clear things up. I know you guys are worried, but Chad Usable is okay. He finished moving out today, and he said he's going back home. He's just taking this semester off. I'm not really sure what's happened. I have a vague idea, but you guys probably know more than I do. I'm Chad Usable's roommate, and obviously, I knew something was wrong with him for a few days now. He stayed in his room all the time, fell out of contact with literally all of his friends, and I'm pretty sure he hadn't been eating hardly anything. After the second day, I couldn't stay in there anymore, so I've been crashing at a buddy's place, only coming into my room to get stuff that I need. I tried talking to him several times. He would cut me off or keep the conversation brief when I asked him about his strange behavior. It was like he was convinced something was hunting him. Yesterday, I came to grab my philosophy book, and he approached me, looking awful, like horrible bags under his eyes. He handed me a flash drive and gave me specific instructions. He told me that he needs me to do one last favor for him. He finally explained to me what's been going on, gave me account info to his YouTube account, and told me he's getting away from here, that it lured him to play it again, instead of trying to change things, and that he shouldn't have done that, and to upload the footage and inform people what happened. I told him that he could do it himself, and he got this wild look in his eyes, and told me that he is never looking at that game again. And that's the last thing he said to me. He never even said bye when his parents came to pick him up. I never even got to meet his parents. I honestly can't tell you what happened. When he spoke, it was kind of hard to understand him, and his fucked up appearance really distracted me. On the flash drive, there was footage of the game last night, a text document with his name, and a password for YouTube, and a third document called thetruth.txt, containing what he told me were his notes that he'd taken. He told me that this meant everything to him, that I follow his instructions exactly. Normally it wouldn't be so to the letter for a request over a fucking video game, but the way he spoke, the way he looked, made me know this was really serious. And I'm going to honor that. I've had this video since yesterday, but had to have someone help me use Pinnacle. That's not really my forte. That after watching it, I had to go back through and look at his other videos on his YouTube account to realize what was going on, and even then, I'm really confused. The video I'm releasing tonight, thetruth.txt, will be released on September 15th, just like he requested. I haven't dared peek at it yet. For the first time I see it, will be the first time you see it, out of respect, my friend. To answer your questions, no. I haven't tried calling him yet. I think I'll give him a call tomorrow. See if he's okay or not. He should have gotten back home by now. About the video. In this video, I cut straight to when he loaded the bin file in the game. Looking back, I realized that Jad Usable left the save select screen in because it said different names sometimes. So my bad for that. But all it said this time was the same at the end of his last video. Link and Ben. Nothing different. I wasn't there when he played it, but it looks to me like in the beginning, when he first spawns, he's testing out his equipment or seeing what items he has or something. Because apparently they've changed randomly before. Then after that, I just think the game got too personal for him.
September 6th. Can't believe what happened. Not sure if this is some kind of elaborate hoax. The fear, I can't help but be exceptionally curious about this. Who or what is the statue? A lot of questions here. I'm starting this document as a diary so I can keep track of everything. I'm typing up a summary of what happened so that I can come back to it later. September 7th, 2:10 a.m. Summary was posted here. 4:25 a.m. I can't sleep. I've been trying so hard, but the harder I try to get more sleep, the more restless I get. I just feel like the statue is appearing whenever I close my eyes. 8:20 a.m. Didn't sleep at all. Gotta start my day. I don't think I have the energy to go to class today. I'm gonna drive back down to talk to that old man. Taking my buddy Tyler with me just in case. 1:18 p.m. Back home now. No sign of the old man. Really weird that he appears to be moving the next day, but maybe the for sale sign is up there yesterday and I just didn't notice it. Tyler wants to know what's gotten me all worked up. I didn't tell him. 3:46 p.m. Could have sworn. Driving back from Subway, I saw the elegy statue buried in some shrubbery. It was staring at me go by. Now I definitely need sleep. 5 p.m. Don't think a lot of people would believe me if I told them about what's happening. I think I'm going to try posting that on the internet. I think I'll just use the summary. Those notes are pretty sporadic.
There we go. That's a little better.
Connected my capture card to my computer to upload the footage. Thought my computer froze for a second. Maybe those strange popping sounds when I hooked everything up. But now it seems to be working again. My computer can't die on me now. 7 p.m. Footage is finally uploaded. The quality is a lot better than I thought it would be. Hey, this is all really special cartridge. Never had it come through this clear before. 8:45 p.m. Thought I saw an icon pop up my desktop that looked like a statue's face for a split second. Gave me quite a scare. Getting really unnerved and delirious. I'm gonna crash after this. 9 p.m. Begin uploading my YouTube video on an alternate account. 9:03. I don't remember having uploaded a Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines video last year. Probably the account that I shared with a friend of mine last summer. Hope he doesn't mind me using it to upload this. 9:55 p.m. Posting my summary of day 4 with a link to the YouTube video. Gonna try to stay awake, but I'm so tired right now. September 8th, 10:48 a.m. I had a dream about that statue. I dreamt that it was following me. It'd be minding my own business. When I feel my neck hair stand up on end, I would turn that thing. That horrible, lifeless statue would be staring with those empty eyes right at me.
Oh, I forgot his bow tie.
Inches away. In my dream, I remember calling it Ben. Power of suggestion, most likely. And never before had I had a dream that I could remember so vividly. 11:21 a.m. I really don't want to play this game again. I think I'm going to go back to see if that old man's there instead. 1:35 p.m. No man, but I had an interesting conversation with his neighbor. I'll post the full thing in my summary for tonight's attempt at playing the game. I'm going to wait for a bit, though, and see if I can dig up any information on this Ben guy. 2:45 p.m. I've been getting random, inexplicable headaches due to the lack of sleep. Keep hearing that song on my head. Also, it's a flu season, so I need to be careful not to get sick. My immune system is going to be shit right now because of that all-nighter. 3:02 p.m. My computer just, on its own, opened up a text document and wrote the words hi and cleverbot.com by itself. What the fuck? 3:46 p.m. I went to the website, one of those bot chatting programs. I think it's best if I just let the conversation speak for itself. Hello?
Hello.
Who is this and how are you able to control my computer?
Who am I?
Right. Forgot. You're a bot.
Do you really think that?
Okay. I know whoever's fucking with my computer can see my screen right now. Yeah. And I'll wager that you're one of those IT kids who thinks he's tough shit. You know what you're doing right now is illegal, right?
Is it?
No shit. Are you familiar with the term invasion of privacy? Get the fuck off my computer, kid.
I am your computer.
Cool story.
All right, there's
Anyway,
Bendy.
I'm calling DPS. You picked a bad time to fuck with me, kid.
Should I wait until you play the game again?
What?
That game.
Majora's Mask?
Yes.
I'm not
How
super
did you know
satisfied with
about
how he
that?
looks, but
Because
again, I'm just trying to
Because
be
what?
fast about it to
I did
challenge
it.
myself.
did what? I played with you. What the fuck? Were you scared? Who the fuck is this? Ben. The statue? You're inside my computer now? Yes. How?
Well, thank you.
You connected me. How the hell did I connect you? Cables and cords. How? Tell me about yourself. What? Tell me about yourself. What do you mean? What is it that really scares you? What the fuck? Answer. No. Answer. What the fuck? How the fuck do you just open that by yourself? I am your computer now. How much can you control? All. What do you want from me?
All right, do we have one
To
more?
entertain. You're stuck inside there. You can't hurt me.
One more suggestion before we call it?
What? Go play. No, you can't hurt me. Took you longer to type that. So? You're not sure. If you're so powerful, why use a ridiculous website like this to chat with me? Less messy, more structure, fun. Fun? Yes. Tradition. I like it. You think it's funny? Amusing. And my notes?
Dude, look at...
You may write them down.
So this is what happens when I get out of the shower. Look at this perfect
It is
curl.
amusing to see what you think
Seriously. My hair, like, twirls around
8:50 p.m.
and curls perfectly into
What have
a
I done?
spiral.
I invited it into my
It's
computer.
insane.
I continue to write these notes, write my summaries. I feel like I'm a prisoner in my one place of security. I don't know. I don't know if I'm hallucinating or not. I feel like I'm fucking insane right now. I feel it watching over me. Even as I type this, Ben is controlling everything in the game, toying with me, leading me like a sheep. But
Do we
for
have
what?
one more
What's the
suggestion,
purpose? I know
or...
Ben drowned. But why these hauntings? The fuck am I even doing? 7:18 p.m. Ben called me to Cleverbot again. Tells me that he's sorry and he wants to be free and that I can free him.
Sonic.exe.
Just like he got into my computer from the capture card, he can spread, but he needs my help. He says that I'm special because I can help him. That's the first nice thing he said. He promises to leave me alone if I do it. He swears he will. I don't know what to think right now. How can I even trust this thing? 7:20 p.m. I'm terrified of it. But now it's saying that it was just having fun. It's twisted and fucked up version of fun.
I found a good...
saying that the game's over. I do want it to be over. He says that he just wants to be free, that he's trapped in the cartridge in my computer and he wants to be freed. I don't want to have to deal with this shit. I don't know how long I can deal with it. Watching me, every move, every keystroke, I have nothing private anymore. It knows everything that's been on my computer. It tells it if it wanted to, it could do horrible things to me, but it hasn't. So I should trust it. 8 p.m. Something tells me that I'm being played again. Just like last time. 9:29 p.m. Ben is calling me to Cleverbot again. I ignored it and went to go take a shower. When I came back to my laptop, I was welcomed with an image of the LG statue staring at me with those dead eyes. I don't want to talk to him. 9:44 p.m. Fuck you, Ben. I'm not talking to you. 9:56 p.m.
Fuck you, Ben.
I'm not talking. 10:06. Fuck you, Ben. I'm not talking to you. 10:12. Fuck you, Ben. I'm not talking to you. 10:46. It's been more than a half an hour and the messages have stopped. Ben has stopped. I'm beginning to think that Ben isn't confined to just my computer and the cartridge. I'm beginning to feel something. It's hard to explain. I've never been spiritual, but there's something different about the air. Something different about the air in my room. 11:42 p.m. I'm beginning to see the elegy statue randomly as I search the internet in places I shouldn't. Places where he shouldn't be. I'd be scrolling down and suddenly I'd be staring at a picture of the elegy statue. Always the elegy statue. I don't know how much more of this I can take. September 9th, 2010. 12:35 a.m. My worst fears confirmed. Ben has tampered with my summary of ben.wmv. I looked at the summary that I posted on various forums of the ben.wmv file, and parts have been omitted. There's no mention of Ben existing outside the game. There's no mention of the Moon Children. How could he have been that quick to delete the post without me noticing? I'm wondering if maybe it appeared to me that I was posting everything, but in reality, Ben was posting his own censored version. I'm gonna ask Ben why he did it. 12:50 a.m. He isn't responding to me on Cleverbot, just gives me the generic responses I usually get. I'm just talking to a bot this time. 1:24 a.m. I think Ben is mad at me. 10:43 a.m.
Oh, you think?
The Moon Children appeared in my dream last night. They lifted up their masks to reveal their hideously disfigured faces, maggots crawling out of their orifices, sunken black holes where their eyes should be, a yellow smile that slowly grew bigger and bigger as they came closer to me. They told me that they wanted to play. I tried to run from them, but the 4 children pinned me down to the ground with surprising strength. Over them stood the happy mask salesman, announcing that he had a new mask that he wanted me to try. In his spastic, sudden movements matching his in-game appearance, he took out a mask modeled off of someone's face that I couldn't recognize, a younger-looking face, and handed it to the Moon Children. Giggling, they latched it to my face, their horrible broken bodies bouncing up and down. 2 of them held me down while the other 2 began to sew my face into the mask. My shrieks and screams caused the happy mask salesman's face to turn into a most horrific smile. He sporadically moved around, examining the procedure like a curious doctor. And then impossible.
Oh, you just said, fuck you, Ben, so I could see why. Yeah.
Into the back of my head.
Maybe that's why he's mad at you. You
So
kind of told
real,
him.
but I couldn't wake up. I couldn't wake up no matter how hard I tried. I couldn't wake up. After the mask was melded into my flesh, they began sewing my legs together. Then my arms. The horrific feeling of a needle puncturing your legs and pulling them in, rupturing your Achilles tendons and tying them together, resonating through my entire body. I tried to scream, but the mask was pressed so tightly against my face that it was my new face. And my new face had no mouth. I didn't make a sound. I tried telling myself in my head that I was dreaming, tried telling myself again and again, and suddenly the Moon Children stopped and looked at me. They just stared, and the happy mask salesman slowly bent down and stared at me, inches away from my face, and grinned when he simply said, "You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you?" Before the Moon Children resumed with increased vigor, I couldn't wake up. I couldn't wake up. It wouldn't let me wake up until they had crafted me into another elegy statue. I woke up sweating, crying, and shaking uncontrollably. I immediately ran to my computer and went for Ben. Answer me, Ben. Welcome back. What is the point of doing this? Why? Amusing to see. How? Fun to play. Fun to toy with you. Make you feel safe. I wonder how you would react. To what? If I hadn't revealed myself to you and stayed hidden, only doing little things to play with you. Close out your windows, turn off your computer, move your mouse by itself. Little things. Make you wonder if I'm there, but you never know. Give you little hints that I am. I wanted to do something different with you. You did this before? Yes. And I will do it again. To who, Ben? Did you know, Ben? Won't tell that information to you. How did Ben die? You know. No. But how did he drown? Won't tell that to you. Why? It is reserved for another. Who? Another who asks. When? Later. I'm beginning to think that this thing, maybe it isn't Ben at all. In a sadistic nature, I wouldn't be surprised if it took the boy's name after it killed him. 12:04 p.m., my room is beginning to feel different again. There's something out there. I feel really threatened, like there's something that's trying to reach out to me and strangle me, but I can't quite get there. 12:46 p.m. I think Ben doesn't want me to play with him anymore. I'll play later. I'll play the game again. Ben, can you see this? I'll play the game again. Please, just stop this. Please. Okay, please. 1:41 p.m. I'm going insane trying to decide what's real and what isn't. Is Ben just playing a trick on me, or is this for real? Is Ben generating these replies, or are people actually posting them? Did I just see that screen flicker, or was it just my imagination? Imagine depending on the internet and trusting your eyes for your entire life and then being blinded. You can't rely on it anymore. You second guess everything. For the brief moments I am looking at my responses to the videos, people were pointing out things that looked fake or photoshopped or whatever. There was literally no way of me knowing if Ben changed something on purpose to try to shut me up, or maybe those replies were just constructed by Ben to try and discourage me from even reaching out. See? You see, I get fucking caught in an infinite mindfuck loop. Like this, and this is what's been wearing on my sanity and pushing me to the edge, and I'm writing this. There's no way of even telling if anyone cares as much as I think they do. Just another fucking trick. Does this whole document even exist? Am I writing nothing? Am I writing nothing? What is it? What's the point of playing? I die whenever I do anything. You die because you can't figure out the secret. What? Thematic. What the fuck are you talking about? There, beauty in your suffering. 4:09 p.m. Ben is
All
making
right.
me play the game again.
Oops.
It tells me that it has something very important to show me. September 10th, 10:52 a.m. The drown.wmv playthrough was up when I woke up today. I remember typing it up, but I don't ever remember posting it. He censored it again. There was no mention of the old man. I have no voice anymore. I am only posting what he wants me to. I am the mask he uses to disguise himself as he lies. 11:55 a.m. There's an entire video summary of a video that I don't remember doing. Reading through the summary, it sounds morbid, resembling my dream from 2 nights ago, except on a far more sadistic scale. These moon children, there's something more to them, almost as if there's another entity from Ben. Something happened last night that I can't remember. I'm posting the 4th summary to the forums now. Shadow of my chair moved. 12 p.m. Ben won't let me visit YouTube. I can browse the rest of the sites, but he keeps on exiting the window when I go to YouTube. Why? 2:02 p.m. I'm feeling the air starting to constrict. I don't think I'm alone here. Whatever aura has been here is getting more violent. 2:44 p.m. Trying to contact Ben on Cleverbot. He's not responding. I just get the AI. 3:51 p.m. My ears aren't fooling me. I'm hearing the reverse song of healing. I keep hearing it. 4:22 p.m. Now I'm positive of it. Earlier, I thought it was a weird coincidence, but just now I opened up my window and 3 floors down, at ground level, I saw the old man. I'm completely positive I did. The same guy. He was just staring up at my window, standing in the middle of the campus. If students took notice of him, they didn't seem to acknowledge it. There's still some things about this whole experience that doesn't seem to make sense. And then again, I never really was good at figuring out these kinds of puzzles. Not exactly in the right state of mind, too. I've given you all the pieces of the puzzle for you to analyze and piece together the missing links. I'm typing up these closing thoughts on the library computer on campus, and I'm emailing myself the notes I have stored on my infected computer for the last 4 days. I'm going to copy and paste these notes with the closing and opening I've typed up here on a safe public computer into one document. I'm not taking any chances spreading Ben. I would not wish this horrible torment on anyone. And I made sure to have my bases covered here. I didn't run into any problems with Ben when I was back on my computer trying to email myself the notes. Went right under his fucking nose. He has no idea what he just let me do. He has no problems opening the text documents from my infected computer in my email either. I can't describe to you how it feels to finally get the word out on this post. The nightmare ends here. That being said, don't download any of my videos or anything about my videos through a YouTube video audio ripper, screen grab, whatever. I don't know how he spreads, but I know that just watching them on YouTube, reading my text won't be able to allow him to spread. Otherwise, he wouldn't have needed my help in the first place, but I strongly recommend you don't take anything you see streaming online onto your own personal computer.
Hold up. I messed up a little bit.
Again, even though I don't know you, this is a sort of bittersweet for me. This semester, I didn't really have any friends, or rather, I stopped paying attention to them. But I suppose that's partially to blame because I'm the genius who picked to live in a single. I suppose someone to get a hold of me and save me before I got too immersed into the game would have literally saved my life. However, it proved too much for me. I'm just glad it happened to me and I could get the warning out so that Ben dies here. And lastly, thank you for taking the time to open this and open yourselves up to me by hearing my story despite maybe not believing me. You didn't have to do that. Really, you shouldn't have. Your support this entire time has kept me going. And now, I'm finally free.
So that was Ben Drowned. Um... Actually, if I'm being honest, I don't know if I can finish this right now. I'm a bit tired. And my neck's starting to hurt a little bit. That and I also I am not used to drawing on my pad or on my pen display. It's crazy. I've grown so accustomed, I think, to the iPad that it feels almost unnatural. But I don't know. Uh, mm, yeah, screw it. I'll go ahead and finish it. If I don't finish it, I'm gonna feel unfulfilled. Mm-hmm. But wait. Let's pull up one more. Let's pull up a short one. One that's not really long. Not long like that one. Um, let's do... Oh, there's a Five Nights at Freddy's one. Well, I don't know actually. Do I want to do? Mr. Creepypasta also did a reading of Cupcakes, which I find hilarious. Okay, this one's a short one.
What I'm about to share with you today is one of the many relatively safe ways in which you can access, not quite enter, a place that I call the shadow side. And its effectiveness depends on how serious you take me. Your mileage may vary, but refer to the title. I won't tell you that you shouldn't be afraid of the shadow side. Chances are you're already seen it after all and merely think it's just a recurring dream. I'll tell you there's no need to be ignorantly afraid of it, though. There is a difference. Ignorance fuels fear, and fear can give that place a lot of juice to run on. You have to be big on preparation if you want to try this. It's like skydiving. If getting it right on your first try is not something that you're good at, then this isn't for you. If you do drugs or alcohol the night of the event, you're gonna have a bad time. If you're going through some serious issues in your life and you're not feeling mentally or spiritually stable, or if you're doing this just to escape, you're gonna have a bad time. And if you don't follow my instructions, particularly the multiple backups that I give you, which, trust me, are there for a reason, you're going to have a really bad time.
You're going to have a bad
The name of
time.
the game is The Three Kings, by the way. Ingredients. A very large, empty, quiet room, preferably without windows. If windows exist, you need to be able to cover them and ensure total darkness. Basements usually work well, if they're roomy enough. A pack of candles. You'll only use one, if all goes well, and a lighter. A bucket of water and a mug. A fan. 2 large mirrors, like the ones on your dresser. Don't worry, they won't be harmed. If they are, it'd be the least of your concerns. 3 chairs. An alarm clock. An active cell phone. Don't forget to charge the goddamn battery. A loved one willing to follow rules and go along with all this madness. A small toy or dear object from your childhood. Start setup around 11 p.m. Place 1 chair in the center of the room, facing north. This is important. Place the other 2 chairs exactly to the left and right, facing your throne. The distance between your throne and that of your queen and the fool should be about the length of your arm to each side, more or less.
I wonder if there's anybody in real
Place
life
the
who
2
actually
large
tried this.
mirrors on the queen and fool chairs, left and right of you, facing you and each other. If you sit on your throne facing straight ahead, north, you should be able to perceive your own reflection in each of the 2 mirrors without actually having to turn your head nor your eyes to do so. If you see your own reflection in the corner of your eye, just barely there, then you've done it right. Place the bucket of water and the mug in front of you, just barely out of reach. Place the fan behind you. Turn it on. Do
Probably
not
wouldn't doubt it.
set it to maximum power. Medium or low is usually enough. Leave it on. Turn off the lights. Leave the door open and go to your bedroom. Set the candles by the side of the bed next to your lighter, your alarm clock, and your cell phone. Leave it charging.
Hello, Sawagami.
Set your alarm clock to 3:30 a.m. Turn off the lights and sleep while holding your power object. Get some rest. Wake up at 3:30 a.m. with your alarm clock. Turn it off, but don't turn on the light. You have exactly 3 minutes to light your candle, grab your cell phone, and make your way to the dark room to sit in your throne. You should be seated by 3:33 a.m. Don't forget your power object. Check for potential red flags. If your cell phone didn't charge for whatever reason, abort that mission. If the alarm didn't go off at exactly 3:30 a.m., abort the mission. If you find the dark room door closed, remember, you left it open. Abort the mission. If the fan is turned off, you left it on. Abort the mission. Side note, if you have to abort the mission due to any of the above reasons, leave the house with your loved one, go to a hotel or something, there's no need to run, you have time to grab a jacket and your keys and what have you, but leave. After 6 a.m. the coast should be clear. If all is going as planned, you can proceed and take your throne. Do not look directly at either of the two mirrors beside you. Do not let the candle go out. The fan is behind you. You must protect the candle with your body, which is standing in between. There's a reason for this, so you'll soon see. Look straight ahead at the darkness, not at the candle, not at the mirrors, just straight ahead. Eagle-eyed readers surely notice that I didn't say during setup which chair was queen and which was fool. That's because it's your job to find out. And from their point of view, you're either their queen or their fool. Hence, 3 kings. I won't spoil what happens next. Suffice to say, you won't be alone. And if you have questions, you'll get answers. Sometimes in the form of new questions, but hey, that's the story of humanity. Just stay put. Try not to move. Again, do not look directly at the mirrors, nor the candle, just straight ahead. Trust me, don't chicken out either. You need to wait until 4:34. By 4:34, it's all over. It's okay to tremble a little, but just try not to. Not because it affects the ritual or anything. It's just a pussy thing to do while in polite company. Did I mention not to let the candle go out? That's what the fan is for. You're protecting the candle with your body, but if your body were to be suddenly moved, then the fan would turn off the candle. That's backup number 1. Your loved one is backup number 2. At 4:34, she or he has to come into the room and call your name. If that won't work, she has to call your cell phone. If that won't work, she has the glass of water and the bucket. She can't touch you, though. That's a newbie's mistake. Backup number 3 is your item of power. The toy, or locket, or whatever object of strength that you brought along for the ride. It'll show you the way if shit hits the fan. Multiple backups. You gotta be like a Boy Scout if you do these things. If you half-ass it all the way so that it won't work. Worst you can do is take it seriously enough for it to work, and not seriously enough to be prepared for the consequences. If in doubt, refer to title.
Was that it? Wow, that was fast. If you half-ass it all the way. My life's philosophy. Okay, yeah, I think yeah, I'm not gonna finish this. I thought I was going to, but it's taking longer than expected. So I think I will go ahead and just call it here for the night. Because I am kind of tired now. But you will see me tomorrow. Not sure what I'm gonna stream. But yeah, I will I'll do something. Okay? So yeah. I hope you guys have a good morning, good night, whichever it is. And I will see you guys tomorrow, okay?